like two peas in a pod. Doug Ford and Mark Carney ink a deal. This is Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow.
The top news stories
and conversations that matter to you.
This is Now You Know with Rob Snow on News Radio.
They've been like bosom buddies most of the year, and now Ontario Premier Doug Ford and Prime Minister Mark Carney have a deal. It's aimed at accelerating development in the Ring of Fire in northern Ontario, the mineral-rich region 500 kilometers north of Thunder Bay. It mirrors similar agreements the federal government's already signed with other provincial governments. At a news conference in Ottawa, Prime Minister Carney says it's part of his government's goal to end what he calls an arduous and inefficient approvals process.
This agreement will speed up project approval timelines by introducing a new one project, one review approach. And under the agreement, Canada and Ontario will have a streamlined and flexible assessment process that will make approvals more efficient, delivering major projects faster while maintaining both federal and provincial standards. By working together, we will work with the same information, we will have the same timelines, and we will respect each other's jurisdictions. So, for example, if a project is primarily regulated by Ontario, the federal government will rely on the provincial environmental assessment. Of course, if a project falls under federal jurisdiction, the federal process will take precedence. And when, as is the case often, there are shared responsibilities, we'll pool resources, we'll align timelines, including through a harmonized process.
Getting, as a first step, a road built to the remote region has long been a goal of the Ontario government, and Premier Ford couldn't say enough nice things about the Prime Minister.
When Prime Minister Carney took office, he promised to do things differently. He promised to work with provinces and territories to eliminate federal duplication so we can get shovels in the ground sooner, to create jobs and opportunities for workers in every part of this country. Today, Prime Minister Carney has kept his promise. And Prime Minister, I want to thank you on behalf of the people of Ontario and on behalf of the people of Canada.
The agreement between Ottawa and Ontario means preliminary work could begin as soon as next year on the road to the Ring of Fire, which has been described in the past as Ontario's version of the oil sands. Journalists at the event had many questions for both leaders, given recent developments. For example, concessions the White House is looking for from Canada to get trade talks going again. Among those demands is more access for American dairy producers to the Canadian market and ending the boycott of American alcohol by many provincial governments, including Doug Ford's government. On supply management in the dairy sector, Prime Minister Carney says it's not on the table.
Supply management is never on the table. The position has not changed.
Not on the table. We have discussions. There's a negotiation. Each side has a set of issues. They put those issues on the table. They're measured in the dozens of issues. The U.S. has 54 issues with Mexico, for example. So when they're referenced, you have to put that in the context, and we'll always look for ways to benefit our workers, our families, as part of a broader agreement.
As for the Ontario government ending its U.S. booze boycott, Doug Ford says that boycott is good for Ontario's industry.
As for alcohol, we've seen wine sales go up 76%. They're having a record year. The grape growers are having a record year. Small, large wineries are having a record year. Distilleries are. And when the Prime Minister and President Trump come up with a great deal for both countries, we'd be more than happy to bring in some maybe Kentucky bourbon. But until then, we're going to hold off.
It was an awkward moment at this news event because in recent days, the Prime Minister, during year-end interviews, suggested his government and the Trump administration were close to a deal on trade, but that Premier Ford's decision to air an anti-tariff ad during the World Series scuttled the deal. In an interview with CBC French, Mr. Carney said it was clearly Premier Ford's fault. Prime Minister Carney was asked about that while Doug Ford stood right beside him and said it means it's unlikely there will be a deal with the Americans anytime soon.
Is it your view that if Premier Ford had not launched that ad in the United States, that sectoral tariffs would be lower right now?
It was the case that we were close to an agreement. We didn't get that agreement. The terms of that agreement, from our perspective, are still on the table. The U.S. has not picked up that part of the negotiation. An agreement that would benefit, first and foremost, Canadian workers in steel, aluminum, in energy, some other sectors, but would also benefit the United States tremendously. My judgment is that is now going to roll into the broader CUSMA negotiations. So we're unlikely, given the time horizons coming together, to have a sectoral agreement.
As for Premier Ford, he is still defending airing that ad. Best ad ever.
Well, number one, that was the best ad that's ever been run, 12.4 billion views. We wanted to bring it to the attention of the American people. And be very frank, it was President Trump. If he didn't comment on it, rather than 12.4 billion views, it might be 12.4 people viewing it. But in saying that, our intention was to bring it to the attention of the American people through the greatest president that ever lived. That was Ronald Reagan. Protectionism does not work.
Prime Minister Carney had a virtual meeting with all the premiers yesterday, but about the only new news to come out of that is word that Liberal Cabinet Minister Dominic LeBlanc will travel to Washington early in the new year, try to kickstart the trade talks again. This is Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
With our expert in communications, crisis communications, political communications, branding, and leadership, Barry McLoughlin is the president of TLC, Transformational Leadership Consultants. Barry lectures at the Shannon School of Business at Cape Breton University and teaches at the University of Ottawa's Professional Development Institute. You can read his Substack, listen to his podcast, or catch him every Friday with us. How are you?
I'm great, Rob. It's always great to have a Friday with you, I must say. It's been wonderful this year.
Yeah, our last chat of the year, Barry. So I want your take on the leadership and communication skills of our political leaders, 5 of them today, and you're going to give them a letter grade like a good teacher would, from A to F. Okay? Let's start with Mark Carney. A to F.
I'm going to give him a B+. Very solid performance, a little room for improvement for sure. Managing expectations is important for him. Sometimes he overpromises and underdelivers, and he learns lessons pretty quick. You never hear him say elbows up again. But as a brand new to the world of politics, really, he's done a remarkable job. I mean, a year ago we were talking, and it was the end. I'm sorry, but it was the end of the Liberal government for sure. And surprise was kicked in. Justin Trudeau leaves. The next thing you know, we have somebody who was never elected dog catcher becomes the Prime Minister of Canada. That was remarkable. And he brought everybody with him. It is the absolute government of his. Like, it's not just a bunch of people. It is actually Mark Carney's government. And he's made no bones about that.
Yeah. And even in the public opinion polls, it's not as though people are in love with the Liberals, Barry, but they like Mark Carney.
That's correct. Yeah. I mean, the Liberal brand is Liberal brand. It's filled with all kinds of positive and negatives, and lots of negatives accumulated. But Mark Carney still has a freshness, and people, wherever you go, people still are giving him a chance. They have managed their own kind of expectations that there's no instant solution to Donald Trump and the tariffs, that it's a longer-term play. And he is very smart. He's clearly doing a longer-term solution, which is, pipelines to get to international markets, distribution channels. Those are longer-term solutions to a short-term hit in the pocketbook, and people realize that. So I think they're giving him allowances that maybe other prime ministers would not have got.
Okay. Well, let's talk about Pierre Poilievre. I mean, what a difference a year makes. You and I, a year ago, were talking about his jam-packed rallies and his viral videos and his 20-point lead in the polls, and a very different end to the year, although I must say the Conservative Party still very competitive when you look at the horse race, politically speaking. But what grade would you give Pierre Poilievre?
I'll give him a C, passing grade, but really not a good year for him. He was in a position to win that election. He was so good, all his hits on Justin Trudeau. And even when Justin left, he kept going with his hits on Justin Trudeau. People had to remind him, excuse me, Carney is no Justin Trudeau. So why are you going on like that? Oh, he's just like Justin. Like, they just really was a badly run campaign. It was off the rails early. He was so dug in, he and his campaign manager, that they were not going to move it. And sure enough, they rolled it right off the rails. That was a winnable election. And he even lost his own seat quite badly, as a matter of fact, which really usually is the next speech you have or the next news conference is you're tendering a resignation. But he did hold on. There wasn't an obvious player in the field at that point. And so he's toughing it out again. And he's doing exactly pretty well the same thing. He's the greatest question period. He can fire out the best shots in question period. No question about it. Carney, by the way, is doing a very good job of handling that, but he is very good as the prosecutor in chief. But, as Tom Mulcair discovered with the NDP, people don't really elect the prosecutor, okay? Prosecutors are rarely that popular, and in this case, it's true. So you're seeing that his numbers have even dropped among Conservatives who voted Conservative in the last election. Those who want him to continue on as leader have dropped from 68% to 58%, according to the Angus Reid Institute. So that's just since August, it's dropped 10 points. And part of that, I think, is it's clear he's letting the minority government situation in which he has some shaping influence of what's going on, he's letting it slide away one seat at a time. One more, and it's a majority government for the next 4 years. And that's probably my prediction. That's what's going to happen, and it's going to happen pretty soon.
Is that the end of his leadership, though? That's the big question, if that turns out to be the case.
He'll probably get, a decent number at the convention. The Tories aren't going to just, commit Harry-Carry, but basically, he is going to get another kick at the can. But if it does go 4 years, majority government, a lot can happen in that time. His numbers could drop further and further. And we've seen previous prime ministers, when they go down really low, look out, you may as well pack it in. So that's an open question.
Okay. When we come back, throughout the year, we have reached Barrie, where we're reaching him today in the Ottawa area. So he's very familiar, of course, with Ontario Premier Doug Ford. But from time to time, we've called Barrie on Cape Breton Island, and he knows a thing or two about Tim Houston. And it wasn't that long ago we called you in Calgary. So I know you've been following Danielle Smith as well. We'll ask you about those three premiers when we return. This is News Radio.
Now you know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
Back with Barrie McLoughlin, the president of TLC, Transformational Leadership Consultants. For one final time for 2025, consider it grading day. It's grading day. What grade would you give Tim Houston, the Nova Scotia premier this year?
I would give him a B+. He was one of the higher performing premiers across. He's at 50% approval across. Compare him to other premiers. He's in the top four. He has done really a solid job in terms of emergency response, in particular the wildfires. Came to the fore there nationally. People began to see him as a leader. He's really made energy a top portfolio for himself and putting a lot of big, wind development projects into play. He says he's cut in half the wait list for emergency rooms, and so he's making some progress there. So all in all, I'd have to say he had a very solid year, no question about it.
What about Doug Ford?
Well, not the greatest year.
Okay.
We've all known and watched that. I've known Doug Ford for quite a number of years. I would say that, people seem to like him personally. Funny enough, you watch him in a room, they love him. But on television and in his position as premier, he comes across as very brash and very, that is Doug Ford. That's the Ford brand, okay? And it can work solidly for him, and then he can kind of misfire. And I think most people have concluded that even though the commercial, there was technically nothing wrong with it, it created such a firestorm that we no longer are at the negotiating table with Trump's people. And I think that was seen, therefore. You could even watch the Prime Minister chuckling about it at their joint news conference. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
So in the end, it's not only that, but I think he sort of he has slid way down. So I think he's a C. He's down as low as Francois Legault.
Wow. Okay.
Which that's hard to understand, but he is really down low. And can he recover? Well, Doug Ford can recover things. He has an amazing ability to bounce back. This could happen for him still.
Yeah. Plus, you and I both know, I mean, the political opposition is
correct,
divided and weak in Ontario. The Ontario Liberal Party doesn't even have a leader right now.
That's right.
He just won. He won a majority government earlier this year, so he has lots of time. We don't have a lot of time. We only have about maybe 90 seconds here. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith.
Well, she got the pipeline deal struck with the Prime Minister. That was a very significant achievement. She does these strange things. She's overusing the notwithstanding clause for LGBTQ issues and so on. I think this is all the base loves that, but the base won't get you the big numbers you need. There is still, I've done 5 premiers of Alberta, okay, the PC brand. And the PC brand, you can't ignore that. They're sitting there. They don't really right now have much of an option, but they're not very pleased with what's going on there either. So, I think this has not been a good, she's got to learn lessons. I'd give her a C on this year.
Wow, I'm surprised. I thought it would be a little higher than that. Okay. You're a tough grader, Gary.
She's not even in the top 4, so yeah, I am pretty tough, I guess. But in the end, you got to earn it, right? And I think can she? I know her somewhat. She has a great personality. She could do things in an engaging way that brings people along. So I think she tends to go to the base too often. She's got to realize you're the premier. Okay, your job is to pull people together. I think she can do that. She has the ability to do that. But the question is, does she have the will to do that?
Okay. It's going to be an interesting year in Alberta politics with the referendum. And now, she does have a major force to face off with in the legislature and the former Calgary mayor, Mr. Nenshi. So that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah. Happy New Year and Merry Christmas to you and Laura, and all the best to you and your family, Barry. We've enjoyed our conversations all year. We'll speak to you next year.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rob. I've really enjoyed it too. All the best to you and your family.
Yeah, bye-bye. From TLC, Transformational Leadership Consultants, that's Barry McLoughlin. For Blacklock's reporter, Tom Korski, standing by. This is News Radio.
There is no question Rob won't get answered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues
on News Radio.
He's been minding Ottawa's business all year long. Tom Korski is back with us for one final time for 2025. He is the managing editor at Blacklock's reporter. Welcome back.
Thank you, Rob.
How much, Tom, will a hacking attack of taxpayers' information cost us?
Several hundreds of millions, easily. The final figures will be known when the settlement between the Treasury Board and class action plaintiffs is certified by a federal judge. That's expected in late winter. This is going to be expensive, Rob. This was many, many tens of thousands of accounts at Canada Revenue Agency and some employment insurance accounts at the Department of Employment that were hacked in 5 years ago in 2020. And it was not an entirely unforeseen event. The federal judge who certified it said the feds had misconfigured their credential management and ignored a warning that there was a suspicious number of login errors a month before they got the tip-off from police. This is going to be expensive, Rob.
Well, your estimates in your reporting today is that if there our maximum compensation payments to all of these claimants a part of the class. I mean, it is approaching $300 million, right, Tom?
Absolutely, and that does not include any punitive damages being sought by lawyers. This is strictly compensation for the irritation of having your CRA My Account hacked. What did people do, by the way? This was fraud. This was organized crime. They hacked into people's My Accounts at the Canada Revenue Agency, changed the deposit information for electronic direct deposit, and then claimed these famous $2,000 pandemic relief checks under the Canada Emergency Response Benefit Act. It was absolute brazen theft. And the Canada Revenue Agency, in the day when they discovered this, locked down 800,000 online accounts. Remember that the next time the feds say they want digital ID or they want more services online, honestly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're rolling that out right now, as a matter of fact. We are early into those days. Well, everyone knows that stress kills. The government wants to protect us from thermal stress. Tell us more.
This was a memo just made public that went to the Minister of Health, and it commented on the impacts, the health impacts of climate change. And there was one rather jarring reference. I don't want to characterize it. I'll read it very quickly. Under the National Adaptation Strategy, the government is working with partners across the country to better understand who is most at risk. And here's the payoff pitch. This includes establishing safe indoor temperature limits to keep our homes healthy. End of quote. And we asked the Department of Health, are you serious? You're going to have some kind of thermostat police? You're going to regulate indoor temperature limits in our house?
And what did they say?
Said, no. This is not to be taken literally, but it was quite literal in black and white. Keep an eye on that one, Rob.
Okay. All right. Establishing safe indoor temperature limits. Keep our homes healthy. Okay. We shall be monitoring that. Let's get to an important story. Amira El-Gawabi is Canada's special representative on combating Islamophobia. First appointee to such a position, Trudeau government created this position. How much does that pay, by the way, being the special representative on combating Islamophobia?
$191,000 a year with a staff of 5. It's a living.
$191,000 a year. I would point out the Bloc Québécois, which wraps itself in secularism of the state, has no use for a special representative on combating Islamophobia and has called for the position to be eliminated. But I digress. You asked if her office funded research for something called the York University Islamophobia Research Hub. What did her office tell you, and what have you subsequently learned?
They said, oh, heavens, perish the thought, they said. We have never, they used the word never, given any money to York University for any research purposes. That just never would happen. Because, like Nixon used to say, that would be wrong, Rob. And unfortunately, we see through an access to information request that they did give money, and they lied, and they kept it secret. An $80,000 grant that went to researchers for what was, by any measure, an advocacy piece. What was the advocacy piece? This was a report that said we have to get out the correct thinking on Palestine, and there have to be steps taken against MPs, senators, certainly media, who don't have the correct thoughts about Palestine. Mrs. El-Gawabi, Rob, is, I think this is fair, is a political activist. She was before she got a federal appointment, and she is now. The difference is she's now a public office holder whose staff and office and salary is paid by Jews and Christians and Buddhists, Sikhs, Hindus, atheists, who all file taxes and all have an opinion. And you don't get to ride your little hobby horse at public expense. And that's exactly what happened. And I think that's why they lied about it.
Right. They misled journalists in this office. Right? Fair to say?
never get caught. You should try not to lie to a reporter. It's not hard to avoid that. You can have amnesia. I don't remember. There's, millions find it quite easy not to give an outright lie to a reporter. But if you insist on lying to a reporter, don't get caught. That's the bad part.
When we come back, lead foot's in the government. Lead foot's in the government. Blacklock investigates. This is News Radio.
You have questions
Now You Know with Rob Snow has the answers.
on News Radio.
Back with Tom Korski, managing editor, Blacklock's reporter. Leadfoot's in the government. Racking up the traffic tickets. It seems to me, Tom, that the employees at the Canadian, for whatever reason, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, they're sure in a hurry. What's going on?
Almost $17,000 in traffic tickets, including red light running. These are the meat inspectors. I guess you got to get there. And they had many thousands of dollars in traffic violations. This is by constables right across the country levying these tickets. In some cases across the government, Rob, the individual drivers paid the fine. And in some cases, they didn't. The taxpayer was charged for the fine. Department of Indigenous Services, almost $11,000 in speeding and red light running. It's expensive.
Isn't that something? I wonder what that's like when the employees at the Canadian Food Inspection Agency get pulled over by the cops. Don't you understand? I have an urgent emergency at the abattoir.
My favorite was that there's a dude at the Transport Safety Board. I guess he was hurrying to a crash site. The irony is noted. He's pulled over by a constable in Regina. It was $400. What did they say in the House tabling? The driver appealed to Moose Jaw Police for leniency. Police withdrew the ticket. End of quote.
Wow.
So the taxpayers won on that one.
Very good. That's good. That's good. I know in Ottawa, there are some old Nortel buildings in Ottawa. It's on Baseline Road. Tom would know where that is. They're old Nortel buildings that have been taken over by the federal government, and in there is the Department of Agriculture, and they're frequent offenders, repeat offenders, I would say as well, by the looks of things. $1,500 in fines. There.
Oh, sure, lots of speeding and such. That's the gray stucco building, isn't it? Or was it next to the other gray stucco building? I wish I was the gray stucco contractor in Ottawa. I'd be driving Cadillacs.
In other strange news about how your government seeks information, we are now consulting, the Department of Industry is consulting Value Village. What's up with that?
They wanted tips on affordability. We see a memo to the Deputy Minister of Industry. And what did it say? It asked, what strategies does Value Village use, so help me, use to maintain affordability while operating as a for-profit thrift retailer, end of quote. Which tells me the Deputy Minister of Industry has never been to a Value Village. If you just go and just ask anyone who's gone through the racks, you'll find out pretty fast what the business model is. Oh, by the way, this wasn't an act of altruism by Value Village. They wanted a GST holiday, said the memo, but did not get it.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Meantime, the Department of Housing is on the case and has sent a memo to the housing minister. Breaking news. Minister Robertson, breaking news. It has come to our attention here in the Department of Housing. Rents are high in Toronto and Vancouver.
We have to say, though, Rob, in their defense, they passed the Value Village test. Instead of wondering what, why, how, they actually did make a call, and they discovered that commercial rents are very high. They want to open a housing office so they can solve the housing affordability problem. And then they started asking around, making calls, dealing with commercial realtors and landlords. What did they discover? Rents average $40 a square foot in Ottawa. No problem, you get your lease real fast. Montreal, $40 a square foot, but you're going to wait 1 to 2 years. Here's the rub. Toronto, $60. Vancouver, $58, Calgary, $55 per square foot in Toronto. If you want the footage they were after, you can wait 4 years. There's no time. They discover this a completely dysfunctional real estate market, Rob.
Okay. Finally, for this year, people will know my wife's family is from Prince Edward Island. We vacation there quite often, and we love Charlottetown, going to the Charlottetown Festival. Having some Cow's ice cream on a warm summer day, there's really nothing better. What would be really nice if the birthplace of Confederation, which is known as Province House, would be open. They've been renovating that place for how long and how much has it cost?
10 years. It was supposed to only take 5 years and cost a few million. And now it's 10 years and it's over $131 million. $131 million. In a province of what is the population of Prince Edward Island, about 120,000. It's a bit of money. Very historic building. This is where the John A. Macdonald and the premiers agreed to initial terms on Confederation. Literally, Confederation took less time than the renovation by Parks Canada to this building. It's supposed to open this year. Clearly, it hasn't. Maybe in 2026. Who knows?
Okay. We have enjoyed your contributions immensely all year long, Tom Korski, and we look to pick things up early in the new year with you. Thanks so much for everything. All the best to you.
A very happy Christmas to you, your whole gang, and all the best in 2026, you bet.
That's Tom Korski. He is the managing editor at Ottawa's Blacklock's reporter, minding Ottawa's business. Aren't you glad someone is? I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
No question goes unasked or unanswered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow returns on News Radio.
Friday Free-for-All Talkback comes up right after the news at the top of the hour. It's our last Talkback of the year, everyone. We would love to hear from you today. Think of all the news that we have covered throughout the year. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about whatever you want to talk about. That is what we do during the Friday Free-for-All Talkback at 1-833-668-2577. In the meantime, I will dream about winning the lottery. This is my guilty pleasure. The Friday Lotto Max draw. Still no winner of that Lotto Max jackpot. The most recent draw was what, Wednesday? No winner. So the jackpot, they cap it at $80 million. And then they keep adding these individual $1 million prizes, and there are 23 of those now. My gosh, how could you not win? The $80 million jackpot, 23 prizes of $1 million each, $103 million in total. Up for grabs. The draw is tonight, and then tomorrow, the Gold Ball jackpot for the 649. That hasn't been won in a while either, so it is up to $46 million, along with the traditional $5 million 649 draw. There was no winner last night, and the next draw is tomorrow, Saturday. The government of Ontario released its most popular baby names for Ontario. Most popular baby names in Ontario for 2024. For girls, they were Olivia, Charlotte, Sophia, Amelia, Emma, Ava, Maya, Sophia, spelled differently. There's Sophia and just Sofia, Mia and Isla. And for the boys, Noah, always popular, Noah, Liam, Theodore, Oliver, Jack, Henry, Benjamin, Lucas, Muhammad, and Leo. Could be a wild day of trading on the stock markets today because trillions of options contracts are expiring today. In fact, the most ever. They call this in the stock market world a quadruple witching day. So that means index options, single stock options, index futures, and index futures options. They're all expiring today. $7.1 trillion worth of options. And when that happens, it can get kind of squirrely on the markets. Been a great year for investors, though, for the most part. TSX up 27% this year, the TSX main index, far outpacing the U.S. markets, by the way. The Dow up 12% so far this year, NASDAQ up 19%, the S&P 500 up 15%, gold really helping to drive the returns for the TSX. Gold stocks putting in a good year because the precious metal itself is up 63%. Not so for Bitcoin, down 7% so far this year. And oil prices, one of the big losers, but good for consumers. Lower gas prices, of course, but oil prices down 23% so far this year. And in sports, week 15 of the NFL got going last night. It was a great game. It was a great game. Big playoff implications this time of year. The Seattle Seahawks came from behind and edged past the LA Rams in overtime with a 2-point conversion. It was win or lose on that play, and it was final score 38-37. Just an incredible game. LA led that game by 2 scores with less than 10 minutes to play, but loses in the end. So that gives Seattle first overall in the NFC. LA had held that spot prior to the game. Lots of football coming your way. NFL football tomorrow, a rare pair of Saturday games, the Eagles and the Commanders. And the evening game is the Bears and the Packers. Classic matchup. Notable games on Sunday. The Broncos, baby. Go Broncos. Broncos and Jaguars in an important AFC matchup. Steelers and Lions. And the late game on Sunday should be a pretty good one too. Patriots and Ravens. And U.S. college football playoffs get going tonight. 9th-ranked Alabama, 8th-ranked Oklahoma. Getting the college football playoffs and the bowl season really underway. Again, Friday free-for-all talkback right after the news. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now.
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to Talkback. 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. Today, it's a Friday free-for-all. And not just that, it's our last Talkback of the year. This is our last show of the year. What a year. We won't be back until January 4th. So last Talkback of the year. This is your last chance to have at me for a couple of weeks anyway. We're going to take some time off. Curtis and I spend the holidays with our friends and families. We're going to reboot and we're going to recharge and we're going to get ready for what promises to be a big year in 2026. So we would love to hear from you today. Just one last time this year, even if it's just to wish you the best of this season. Good wishes for the new year. We simply could not have Talkback without you, our listeners, our callers. We really do appreciate all you have to say all year long. We've been through a lot together this year. We've covered a lot of ground this year. We have talked about a lot of big news stories and so many big issues. And while everyone doesn't always agree on everything, I think it's good to have a platform like this, don't you? So you can hear different opinions from people in different parts of the country. So, look, here we have topics, but we don't like to lead with our topics. We always have a few ready to go, but we always prefer to know what's on your mind. So, everyone, what's on your mind today? What do you want to talk about? If you want to talk about something that's been in the news, there's always news. Lots of news this week, lots of news this year. If you want to talk about something that you think should be in the news, just feel free to raise it here, whatever it happens to be. Serious, not so serious. We have a phone line for you, and all of our phone lines are open right now. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. And as always, if you've never called before, just mention that. We love hearing from first-time callers, and we will make you a priority today. 1-833-668-2577. As this is our final Talkback for the year, it's always interesting to look ahead and consider what we might be talking about next year. So does anyone want to make any predictions about what we'll be covering next year in 2026? Take our politics, for example. and all the things that could happen, do you care to make a prediction? For example, do you think Mark Carney is going to get a deal done with Donald Trump? I mean, do you think someday next year we're going to be covering a news conference and there's the prime minister and there's the U.S. president, and we're going to see Mark Carney and Donald Trump put pen to paper and end this trade war? If you listen to what Mark Carney has been saying over the last week or so, I mean, he's been saying that the two sides were pretty close to announcing a deal for certain sectors with what they're calling a sectoral deal. But then he told CBC French that Doug Ford's ad during the World Series torpedoed the whole thing. But he said even yesterday there are broad outlines of a sectoral deal. Look, this was part of what Mark Carney was elected to do, deal with Donald Trump. That's why he's the prime minister today and not Pierre Poilievre. What do you think is going to happen next year? Predictions. We love to hear predictions for 2026. 1-833-668-2577. Let's get it going here. Let's go to Greg. He's called in from Calgary today. Hi, Greg.
I'm sorry, Rob. I called in to suggest a topic, so people aren't in the business.
You can suggest a topic. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
It's holiday season. We're wrapping up for the year.
Yes, it is.
We got a fantastic country, all sorts of people. But there are people in our community that are doing incredible things around the holiday season. I've got a friend that sees 100 kids a night as Santa in his highly decorated yard. Another guy goes and visits hockey teams, sees the young hockey players, does the Santa visit, but he requires a random act of kindness from a child. And those same kids, as they grow up, they become elves, and they do community projects. A couple of examples of holiday heroes, I would call them. And I would wonder across our fine nation what others think, or if they have others. Really sharing those stories really motivates others to take action.
Holiday heroes.
Yeah. Who's your holiday hero in your community?
Who's a holiday hero in your community? That's a great one. I'm writing that down. Who's a holiday hero in your community?
Yeah. It's when people step into that space. And other people, it's not to really recognize those people, because those people are already doing fantastic work. Most of them don't want recognition, but you show others how easy it is to do fabulous things, how to build community.
Yeah, such a good suggestion. I will make that appeal repeatedly throughout the Talkback today, because I really like that topic. I wish you were in our story meeting this morning. Yeah, I wish you were in our story meeting today.
Have a good holiday. You've done a fantastic job. Very thankful.
Thank you, Greg. Very kind of you.
For Canada, for a better country.
Thank you so much. I'm just reporting the news, sir, and reacting to it as it comes our way, trying to make sense of it all. Of course, with the listeners' help, and we can't do it without you today. Every single phone line available, as I said, last Talkback of the year. 1-833-668-2577. We'll be right back with more of your calls on Talkback. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. It's News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
John is in Calgary. Friday free-for-all Talkback, last Talkback of the year. Hi, John.
Hey, Merry Christmas, Rob. How you doing?
Yeah, very good. Merry Christmas to you too, John. What's on your mind today?
Rob, you touched on something earlier, and actually, you know what? I'd like your opinion on this, and not just my opinion, but I'd like to hear what you think. You touched on something about the Muslim community, and now we have a minister of anti-Muslim relations, or I couldn't remember the official name. The Muslim community seems to be, from everything we see online and everything that they put out as well, very not just anti-Christian, but they're anti with a lot of the other religions.
Well, I think you're painting things with a pretty broad brush there, bud.
I am, but I mean, you take a look at things like in Minnesota, what's happening there, and in England, and all over Europe. The Muslims seem to move into these non-Muslim countries and push their own religion and have call to prayers out at 5 o'clock in the morning, stuff like that. What's your opinion on what's happening there? Is this all just the media blowing it out of proportion, or is there something to this? Is it something we should be worried about? Is our way of life in danger?
Well, the problem is not Islam; it's radical Islam.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Just as in other communities, there are Christian communities, but then there are Christian nationalist communities, right? Extreme.
So this isn't something to worry about. We just let it be.
Am I worried about it? Am I scared of my Muslim neighbor? I wouldn't say so. No.
No, not your Muslim neighbor, but I mean, like all of a sudden, if you've got 80% of your neighbors,
you keep saying the Muslims. Like you
radical
keep
Muslims,
using the
you're
Muslim,
correct.
Right?
But it seems to be the one. It seems to be the one that is against Christianity and everything else. They go into Christian countries and just radicalize them. Egypt, Syria, Yemen, Morocco. Now they're moving into Europe, and England's having a hell of a
are those
time.
Christian countries? Are those Christian countries?
I think they were at one point.
Oh, yeah, not in,
Anyways,
not in the last few centuries. I don't think.
Think that it's not something to worry about.
Yeah, I think you're painting, as I say, just all Muslims with too broad a brush, sir.
Okay, fair
That's
enough.
what I think. Yeah. Okay.
Happy
And I'm going to
holidays
move
to you,
along.
Merry
Thank you, John.
Christmas to you.
Yeah. Merry Christmas to you. Yeah. Thank you. Eric in Cole Harbor. Eric. Hi, Eric.
Hi, Rob. How you doing?
Yeah, very good, Eric. Thank you. What's on your mind?
First of all, I just want to wish you and your family and all your listeners peace in your home and peace in your heart and peace in your families and peace with everybody that you work with, and wish everybody a Merry Christmas. And
Same to you,
a couple of things I'd like to say. The gentleman that your first caller there was talking about the Young Son heroes. I really appreciate holiday heroes. Well, I really appreciate the people that work in soup kitchens. I really appreciate the people that go out and save poor people from freezing to death. And for all those that are involved in charitable endeavors. Now, your last caller, you were right. Don't paint everybody with the broad brush, but Rob, radical Islam is a big problem in the world. I know you don't like talking about stuff like that, but it is a huge problem. Radical Islam is not a good thing. There was too many people. If you only have 10,000 rooms, you can't bring in 100,000 people without them being vetted properly. It could cause problems. I'm like you. I don't have anything against Muslims per se, but I have something against people that want to come to a new country where they're welcomed. We need the help, that's for sure. But you can't have a parallel society. You either live by the laws of the country that you've immigrated to, and you can't form your own legal systems and all that kind of stuff. So I really hope that we pay attention to that. And okay, the last thing that I'll say, I don't want to be negative, but what has Mark Carney done for Canada since he's been there for 7 months? He hasn't done anything. And I would suggest everybody would look at our economic situation and what is being done to help poor people, what's being done to help the economy. I don't think everybody likes Mark Carney. You're a friend there, and you're not going to like this. I have nothing against him, but he should move to the States because he would get a good job with MSNBC, that Barry McLoughlin guy. So I'll leave it at that. You have a fantastic holiday, Rob.
All right. Okay. Okay.
You
say, what has Mark Carney done? And I'm not here to defend Mark Carney or Pierre Poilievre or anyone for that matter. I think he would say he's trying to build a more resilient Canada. I guess that's what I think he would tell you with his major projects office and his major projects list and eliminating these interprovincial trade barriers, doing what he can with that kind of stuff. Going to Alberta, signing an MOU with Premier Smith. signing this deal with Doug Ford yesterday for the Ring of Fire.
What's that doing,
But
Rob?
to your
What's that doing
point,
for the-
but to your point, for people who are going to food banks, for people who are struggling to, say, afford $2,000 a month for rent, for people who are worried about mortgages, these sorts of things, what is he doing for them?
Yeah.
Let alone the people in, your part of the country who are sleeping in tents in the middle of the winter. That's a fair point.
That's a
Okay,
huge
gotta
problem.
go. Yeah.
because you know what?
Oh, yeah, it's a huge problem. Thank you, Eric. Yeah, be right back. It's Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Let's go to West in Calgary. Hi, West.
Hey, Rob. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, sir.
Yep, thank you. Same to you, sir. What's on your mind?
Hey, let's talk a little sports. Let's
Sure.
talk Blue Jays and Expos. How's that for you? Something a little
Blue Jays
happier.
and Expos. Okay, Blue Jays and Expos. Okay.
Did you watch that Netflix special?
I did on the Expos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
What'd you think?
It was interesting.
I haven't seen it yet, so it's on my hit list.
I would
what was
suggest
the
it.
verdict?
I
Why
would
did
suggest
the
it. Yeah, I
Expos
forgot.
die?
I forgot so many things about the demise of the Montreal Expos. It's a real trip down memory lane, and they interview, a lot of the power players who were around at the time, and the Alou, the manager. You remember him, Philippe Alou? They interview him.
Yeah,
as
he
well.
was
So,
pretty
yeah.
good as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a really good dive into what went wrong and all the problems with the with Big O, the Bronfmans, and just how much money the Bronfmans were losing. Like there's a scene in there where they say Bronfman was willing to lose a couple of $1 million a year, but he just couldn't. Even as wealthy as he just wasn't willing to lose like 10 or 15 million every year as owner of the Montreal Expos.
Did they get to the René Levesque and the PQ problem?
No, that wasn't really part of it. What you really get the sense of is that baseball was really popular in Montreal.
Well,
Like there was a dedicated
what I
fan
think
base.
killed the Expos was the fact that when the Quebecois got in and they had that mandatory French, all the head offices from Montreal moved to Toronto.
Yeah, that's
And
yeah.
those
That
were
it doesn't.
season
No, it doesn't really. No, that's not. I didn't get the sense that was really part of it.
No. But I sure missed them. I used to watch the Expos on the French TV because I couldn't get it out here in Alberta. I could get it on French TV, and I spoke a little bit of French, so I could pass by on it. I sure loved them.
I loved them too. In the glory days, and Andre Dawson and Tim Raines and Gary Carter,
Yeah, I was
and
trying to remember
Steve
Andre
Rogers
Dawson.
and
Yeah,
Cromartie and all those guys. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Wallach and Carter, they were great. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Tim Wallach.
even when I was in Germany, I used to catch the odd Expos game on Radio Europe, and I'd still
Sure.
listen to on the radio.
Yeah. So what about the Blue Jays? What do you think of the Blue Jays? You think they're going to be as good next season as they were this season when they went all the way to the World Series?
Oh, I was going to ask you, what do you think with how they're doing? It looks pretty good to me. Pitching, that's the hard part, isn't it? Looks like you're getting
they've spent a lot of money on pitching, no doubt about that. I'll be curious who becomes the closer. Are they going to stick with Jeff Hoffman? After he gave up that home run in the
scared the hell out of me.
after he gave up that home run in the ninth inning of the World Series, I'm kind of sour on him. So I don't know if they're going to replace him. They haven't managed to sign Bo Bichette yet. They were chasing this other guy who played for the Cubs last year. I can't remember his name now. But you think about it. I mean, the Jays basically went from worst to first in the span of one season. Given the money that they're willing to spend, I don't see much of a reason why they just can't keep it rolling.
I think it's now to spend their, nothing. So they're sitting at the top of the pedestal. So spend, I think.
Well, yeah, they made a lot of money too with their playoff run. That's all money in the bank for the owners, right? Rogers, which is
God, yeah. I mean, I don't know
so
what
happens to be my boss too.
Any extra money
anyway,
on
we
TV,
gotta go.
right?
We gotta go. Go Expos.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Yep, 1-833-668-2577. You take the lead on Talkback today. Last one of the year. Love to hear from you. Danny, up next on Talkback. Hi, Danny.
Hi, Rob. I just got a couple of things. When a politician that we voted for crosses the floor, you should have an instant by-election again, right away, not waiting 3 months, 6 months, whatever. For example, if I voted Conservative and my Conservative MP crossed the floor and turned Liberal, I didn't vote for him to be a Liberal. I voted for him to be a Conservative. So my riding should be able to have a by-election the next week to see if, people in his riding are for him or they're still Conservative. I don't think that's right at all. The next thing is, I really believe Alberta needs to have 2 separate income taxes. One for Alberta taxes and one for federal tax. Because
why do you say that?
We send our tax. Pardon me?
Why is that?
Well, because when we send our taxes to the federal government, Alberta has to fight to get their portion back. And I believe that their portion, or a part of our portion, is kept for the equalization program and not given back to Alberta, giving us not the choice of how much equalization payments we make. You follow me?
Yeah.
We don't have that choice.
I follow you. Sure. Yeah.
We don't have that choice. Federal government just keeps it. When they say Alberta committed this much money to the equalization program, well, that's not quite true. The federal government kept it and didn't give it back to us so that we could make our own choice of how much we would like to donate to the rest of the country. You follow what I'm saying, hey?
I follow what you're saying.
Yeah, so I'm not up on politics much, but I listen to your program all the time, just about daily. And there's other things that bug me too, but this is just a couple of them that are, especially that crossing the floor thing. I mean, that's just wrong, my opinion.
Going on forever. It's happened, more than 100 times in Canadian history. It is part of the Westminster tradition, as they say. I know you don't agree with it, but there's not going to be any any change to that. On Alberta having its own income tax system, I mean, how do you envision that playing out? Like, I'm in Quebec, I have to do 2 tax returns every year. I send one to the Quebec government, I send one to the federal government. Are you okay with doing that?
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. At least Alberta would have their taxes that I pay to Alberta for Alberta to decide what to do with them. And I would make out another tax form, and I would pay my federal tax. I'm a Canadian. I mean, I don't think I'm not.
And it's funny because in Quebec, the push has been on Quebecers only want to fill out 1. Streamline it.
Well, I'm just the opposite of that. Like when you look at that map that was on, on social media or whatever that shows BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan paying this equalization tax and the rest of Canada taking. Hang on here a minute. And then, Eastern Canada or whatever, we know who it is telling Alberta what they can and cannot do. I don't
So would
agree
you
with
say, are you part of what I would call the independence movement? Would you consider yourself part of that?
Maybe not. No. I might be agreeing. I might be able to agree with 2 flags. a blue one and a red one, Western Canada and Eastern Canada, but I'm still want to be part of Canada. I don't want to be independent from the country.
Because I wonder what's going to happen in Alberta next year with this independence movement. Is anything going to happen? Is there going to be a referendum in Alberta? Which referendum? Is it going to be this pro-Canada referendum? You know, the one that asks Alberta to stay part of Canada? Is it going to be the other one, the Prosperity Project one? I have a hard time keeping up with all the twists and turns in that story. So,
yeah, me too. But my feeling is the majority of us are Canadians. We don't want to separate as such. And I don't think looking south to solve our problems is anything at all. No, I don't even think that's whatever you call it, a choice, in my opinion.
Okay.
But I think we need to have our own choices in Alberta, not, Eastern Canada telling us what to do.
Well, I mean, you think when I interviewed Danielle Smith, we aired the interview on Monday. I actually spoke to her a few days prior to that. Yeah. When one of the things I asked her was, what was your ultimate goal and what came out of this Alberta Next panel that toured the province? Some people think that was kind of a propaganda exercise on the part of the government. I suppose I appreciate that. She said we want a lot of things that they have in Quebec. Okay, so where I am, the Quebec government has more control over its immigration than any other province because Quebec wants French-speaking immigrants.
Wow.
Okay, Quebec has its own income tax system. Quebec has its own pension plan. Quebec has its own provincial police force.
Yeah,
and she wants her province to have a lot of the same authorities.
And I don't see why we shouldn't have. I think we should have.
Okay.
But
all right.
What's good for one has got to be good for the rest of us. Like, I know Quebec's been different from Canada all along, but anyway, that's just all I wanted to say, Rob. Thanks for letting me.
And you have said it. Merry Christmas, Danny. Thank you for the call. Every single phone line available there, folks, for Talkback today. Last Talkback of the year. Come on, let's get going here. Call and wish me a Merry Christmas. I'll do the same to you. And we'll talk about some of the big news stories and some of the current events and, what's hot in the country right now on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Last Talkback of the year, Friday free-for-all, so we will follow your lead today. If you have a topic that you want to bring up at 1-833-668-2577, lots of lines available there for you, and lots of time to take your call today. You're on Talkback. Let's go to Dan, who's in Calgary. Hi, Dan.
How are you?
Yeah, very good, Dan. What's on your mind?
Well, all this talk about Alberta separating, I'm not quite sure how they're going to pull that off. I mean, first, Danielle Smith figures we're entitled to 80% of what's in the CPP fund. But I don't know. I don't know who we would align with if we separated. I don't know if we could fly on our own.
Well, I'm also wondering this MOU that the Prime Minister has signed with Danielle Smith, who seems to be totally pleased with it, whether that's going to maybe soften any enthusiasm for an independent Alberta.
Yeah, but these pipelines, I mean, they're going to have to fight with the Indigenous again. And the same thing, for years they wanted to run one east, but Quebec says we're not going to run one through their province, but they sure like cashing our checks on the equalization payments.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there might be alternatives to that. Now, there is this dream of, if there's going to be a pipeline east, that maybe it goes, say, from northern Alberta, and instead it goes to Churchill. You don't have to deal with Quebec. It goes to Churchill. One problem with Churchill is that it's frozen 6 months out of the year, so I really don't know how viable that is.
Yeah, that's true. That's like Calgary right now, frozen.
Yeah.
But No, it's.
I was listening to a smart fella the other day. I mean, what is the, say, percentage of support for an independent Alberta right now? It's somewhere between 25 and 30%, something like that for an independent Alberta. It's about the same as it is in Quebec, actually. Between 25 and 30% say they support an independent Alberta. If you,
I
this
agree.
fellow said, if you don't go into a referendum already leading your cause, like say, in your case, an independent Alberta, if you're not already at, say, 51 or 52%, you're not going to win the referendum. Think of all the people who you have to change their mind, all the minds you have to change. That's going to be, that's a tough road to hoe.
Yeah, I don't think support for separation is maybe what it was 15, 20 years ago, but it's, like you say, the MOU or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I just wonder with the MOU, is it even as popular as it was 15 or 20 days ago?
Well, yes, but you and I know that we won't, if it even happens, we won't see it in our lifetime. I mean, look how long it took them to do the expansion on the Trans Mountain pipeline.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else on your mind?
No, that's got that off my chest. So.
Okay, I'm glad you did. Merry Christmas to you, Dan, and your family as well. Thank you. Linda in Southern Alberta. Hi, Linda.
Hello.
Hi, Linda. Merry Christmas,
Hi.
Linda.
Merry Christmas to you too. Yeah, I don't know which way to go on any of stuff anymore. So I'm just phoning to say, enjoy your year, and hopefully our next year is going to be a lot better than what we've had so far.
Okay.
Because I don't know. There's just, to me, it's just everything I look at, everything I hear, it's just more negative, more bad stuff going on than positive stuff. So.
Well, for this year was a difficult year for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's just, and I don't know, like with some of the decisions being made, it's just the same old. It's just like you're still on that hamster wheel, just going round and round and round. So.
Yeah, but the situation with Trump and the 51st state earlier in the year, that was causing a lot of anxiety for people. Even to end the year, it's creating a lot of anxiety for people.
Well, yeah.
And there are industries that have been really hard hit by that. We've had a lot of layoffs in the steel sector. We've had a lot of layoffs in the auto manufacturing. We've had plants that are going to close in the auto industry.
Stuff, yeah.
Right.
But we've had stuff here in Alberta.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that's going on, and a lot of defaulting by oil companies and stuff on municipalities as far as taxes. We're down millions and millions of dollars. Yeah, we're down millions of dollars in that area.
Even the oil price is not helping Alberta. That's for sure.
No, it isn't. And you can't bank on a maybe, right? So when you're doing your budget,
I mean, oil is $56 a barrel today.
Yeah.
What is that costing the treasury in Alberta? Billions and billions and billions of dollars. Billions of dollars is not available for healthcare, and your teachers want raises, and no more than 20 children in the classroom. It's hard to do that with oil where it is right now, $56 a barrel.
And we've ended up, that's what we're all banking on, because we've lost a lot of industry over the years, because everybody's going, well, we're relying on the oil money, right? And everything else is kind of just gone now. So anyway, yeah.
Well, Linda, you've been a really loyal listener and a real loyal caller, and I don't take that for granted. And I thank you so much for your calls all year. And I bet you we'll be speaking in the new year. You enjoy the holidays with your family.
Probably.
Thank you so much.
You too. You're
Bye-bye.
welcome. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, this is Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
To Halifax we go today. Sean is in Halifax. Hi, Sean.
Hey, Rob. Rob, I just want to talk about the floor crossing there, the conversation you had with the latest gentleman there. I know it's legal and constitutional and whatever, don't agree with it. And the way that it was done, and then when he came out a few days later and gave his excuse, it just seemed so fake and like something else was behind it, that it didn't seem authentic. Because like the night before, literally, he was reaming the Liberals at the Conservative Christmas party like Pierre Poilievre would. Like he ran, if you remember his platform in his election, like he ran side by side with Pierre Poilievre's platform. Like it and then for him to say like that the rhetoric and all that stuff, that after he just did that same thing, but like nothing changed. And I could see like example, like Tim Houston, a guy like Tim Houston doing something like that, only because like he's a very, very progressive conservative, like almost liberal conservative. So I could see that, but then you look at the way his excuses, and it just seems so cheesy.
It's unbelievable, right?
Something like
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, like
let's face it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, he wants. If you're talking about Michael Maw, he wants people to actually believe that he went to the Conservative Christmas party, fully supporting Pierre Poilievre, fully supporting the Conservative agenda in Parliament, and then all of a sudden, the next day, he was invited to go and meet the Prime Minister, and within one meeting of, talking to the Prime Minister, that was it. He wasn't a Conservative anymore, and he was so taken by Mark Carney and his pragmatism and his vision for Canada that he crossed the floor. And that night went to the Liberal Christmas party. It just doesn't like. Come on, come on. Does that pass the smell test for anyone?
Over a year. Yeah, well, I just mean like I could see if it was like honeymoon Mark Carney, like when he just got in and that happened. But we've been going a year now. Like this isn't something that just overnight we learned, oh, Mark Carney's a great guy. Like this was the media push that this is the guy, and he hasn't done anything. And I seen a poll recently, because like I find the mainstream media is brutal with attack, like Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party. It's like they just don't want him as the leader, period. Because no matter what numbers that he shows, like I seen a poll there from Main Street there on December 12th that they released, that if an election was held today, that Pierre Poilievre would have a majority government. And it just seems so.
I know. And yet, if you watch some of the political talk shows or you read some of the columns in the newspapers, you would swear that the Conservative Party was so out of favor, it would look like the NDP and wouldn't even gain official party status if an election was held today. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
but
like
again,
that
again, he'll have to answer to his constituents. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I'll be watching for in the new year, if you'll just let me finish, because we're almost out of time.
Oh, sorry.
In the new year, here's something to watch for, okay? There's going to be a cabinet shuffle. There are people in this government like Lena Diab, who's the immigration minister and has been, well, underwhelming to say the least from the Halifax area. I don't think she's going to survive a cabinet shuffle. There's going to be a major cabinet shuffle. Mr. Carney's going to put people in that he really, really trusts. And will he reward these floor crossers? Will he give some plum position to Mr. D'Entremont, or will Michael Maw make it into the cabinet? And watch as well what kind of projects are promised for these ridings. What is the reward for getting the Liberals so close to a majority government?
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to hour number 2 of Talkback. It is our Friday free-for-all. So we're wide open on topics today. It's also our final Talkback of the year. This is our final hour of the year. We won't be back until January 4th. January 4th. Gosh, we talked about a lot of news stories together this year. Is there one that stands out for you, as the biggest news story of the year? I wrote down a little list today, biggest news stories of the year. I think you have to consider the weather. I did a lot of A lot of coverage of weather stories, wildfire, drought, heat, all that. We covered wildfires for weeks here on Now You Know. Talked about the smoky skies. Talked about politicians banning people from the woods like they did in Nova Scotia. Took calls on that for days and days and days and days. Trump and the trade war and everything that flows from that, making Canada the 51st state, the impact on tariffs, on all kinds of industries from steel and aluminum to the auto sector, the lumber industry, Trump and the trade war. The election, of course, happened back in late April, dominated our news coverage for the better part of 6 weeks. I don't think we talked about anything else for about 6 weeks because there was the run-up to the election before the election. And the Conservatives not winning. The Conservatives leading the Liberals in the polls for about 2 years. And yet on election night, the Liberals pull off the big comeback. Maybe one of the biggest political comebacks in Canadian political history, really, when you think about it. Prime Minister Carney was the choice for Prime Minister. Pierre Poilievre lost in his own riding, had to run in the Alberta by-election. The NDP just decimated. Has anybody heard from Jagmeet Singh? Where is he now? The election, the cost of living. Talked a lot about that this year. Canadians struggling to make ends meet, record use of food banks, people skimping on groceries, high housing costs. The Toronto Blue Jays reached the World Series for the first time in 32 years, only to lose to the LA Dodgers in a heartbreaking Game 7 that went to extra innings. Yeah, it was a big year in news, wasn't it? We could talk about whatever you want to talk about today, though. Let's go to Wayne in Calgary up next. Hello, Wayne.
Good morning.
Yeah, hi, Wayne. It's afternoon now.
Hey, I'm in my wisdom years. I'm not trying to rush my life away, so it's morning all day and all night. So usually I say to people who say that to me, good afternoon, I say, what are you trying to do, kill me? Anyway, I want to talk about Alberta independence. And two things. If nobody's been to an Alberta Prosperity Project event and they're worried about Alberta independence, I recommend they go to some of those where some of the leaders are talking. If we talk about being landlocked, we're already landlocked. BC won't let us build a pipeline. Alberta pension plan, I definitely don't want our government controlling it. Even if we do become independent, I don't want the government involved with it at all. I know people say, well, the government is involved with our Canadian pension plan, but the person who makes the decision or who the final people are on the board of Canadian pension plan is made by our finance minister. Our own police force, well, I would say less than 25% of the police force in Alberta is RCMP when you take all the cities who have their own police force. Equalization, well, I think you've talked about that before, so you know how much money we sent to the East. And I don't know who his nickname's Fabio, the person who ran the referendum there for yes or no vote. And it doesn't matter which referendum goes through, if his goes through or the APP, Alberta Prosperity Project referendum goes through, if Fabio's go through, we'll just vote no to staying in Canada. And before we became Canada, what did he say? We're going to take the West, and we want to take all the riches from the West so the East can survive. And I think that's about all I want to say, except may the birth of the one and only true God, Jesus Christ, bestow a blessing of grace and peace upon your household, to the belittlement of every other false religion. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you. Bye-bye. To Compier, Alberta, Rob, up next.
Yes, Rob. A couple of opinions, a couple of thoughts. Whatever happened to the Meet the Engagement panel with Jim Dinning heading it, and Mary Ritchie and the other fellow, I can't pronounce his name, and I don't want to say it and mispronounce it. But whatever happened to that back in 23, whereby we have our own pension plan like CPP, and I don't think Daniel wants to split off, and I don't think we need to split off. I think we're better as one country, and maybe Doug Ford can send us something back from, of course, in the news the last day or two there's been about the mines in Northern Ontario, and then the same down in New Brunswick or whatever it is. And maybe they can start sending stuff back to us, and we can work as one union, and maybe we can still send them some oil or whatever. But maybe if we don't have that, maybe if we did split off, I would like to see Manitoba, BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan, because we got Churchill Port, we got to the west, and maybe we could have. But I don't think we need a split. We need to keep it united. But whatever happened to that original engagement, it was called, where we looked at the CPP, we could still have that and still be doing as a Canada sort of thing.
Okay, I'm not up to date on that, sir. I can offer you no insight whatsoever.
There was a little book that was sent out in the mail, and it's got their pictures on there. And I remember Jim Denning from when I was on the Conservative sitting years ago as a junior and senior member. And there's two other panel members, and it was back in 2023.
Again, you're asking whatever happened to that. I don't know whatever happened to that.
Well,
we'll be right back. I know that. Thank you. We'll be right back. This is Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
So a lot of people are calling today. They want to talk about Alberta. That's fine. But I've heard it so many times today. I'm tired of sending money to Quebec. I'm tired of sending money to the East. Look, I don't pretend to understand how the equalization formula works. I certainly appreciate the sentiment, but I do know that's not how equalization works. This is how the federal government says equalization works. This is right from the Library of Parliament, okay? Equalization uses a mathematical formula to determine which provinces are eligible for the transfer and the amount of each eligible province's payment. The basic structure of equalization is relatively straightforward. On a per capita basis, equalization assesses a province's ability to generate own source revenues and compares that fiscal capacity to the average fiscal capacity for all provinces. With the exception of user fees, all provincial government revenue sources are allocated to one of 5 categories: personal income taxes, business income taxes, consumption taxes, property taxes, and natural resources revenues. Save for natural resources revenues, the equalization formula estimates fiscal capacity in each of the 4 remaining revenue categories by determining the amount of per capita revenue that each province could generate if all provinces had identical tax rates. Because of the wide range of natural resources and royalty structures across the provinces, actual resource revenues are used to measure fiscal capacity instead of creating a national average tax rate. And then it goes on to say this: the total amount of equalization payments in 2024-2025 is $25.5 billion, amounting to 4.7% of total federal expenditures. Federal expenditures, not Alberta expenditures. Federal expenditures. At present, 7 provinces are eligible for a transfer: Manitoba, Ontario, which is one of the mysteries of the universe, and an indictment, really, of Ontario government's liberal and progressive conservative, an indictment of their leadership that Ontario is eligible for equalization. Same with Quebec. New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland, and Labrador. Quebec receives the largest equalization payment, amounting to 52% of the total amount of equalization payments. Quebec's large share of equalization payments is mostly due to its greater population. End quote. That's how the government, federal, explains equalization. Just so everyone knows. Once more, for the 100th time, Jenna is in Calgary today. Hi, Jenna.
Hi, Rob. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you just fine. Thank you. What's on your mind?
Well, a very Merry Christmas to you, Rob. And my gift to you is that I would like to change up the topic a bit. I know we're hearing a lot about what's being taken away from us, and there is a lot being taken away. But I prefer to focus on the positive. I believe happiness is a choice, and I would like to bring up a news story that I heard breaking just before the COVID shutdown. And it was a fantastic story that could be world-changing, in that university researchers at our own UBC, combined with, I believe it was the University of Connecticut, were trying to create an anti-malaria vaccination for pregnant women. And unfortunately, it didn't work in doing that. But what it succeeded in doing was actively seeking out and killing cancer cells. And since the shutdown, I heard the story mentioned once. This is a fantastic thing for the whole world. And I have not heard it mentioned one more time again. Since before the COVID shutdown, I heard it in 2020. You can, if you Google and you're very dedicated to finding it, find some short blurbs in little, medical websites and stuff. But I think this is something really important that we should bring back to the forefront. Cancer is the plague of our modern era. And if we bring this back to the forefront, don't let it be a story that disappears. This could change the lives of millions of people around the world. And what better time to give the world a wonderful gift than Christmas time, when it's about giving back.
Yeah, very well said. I'm not familiar with that story whatsoever. But wouldn't that be something?
That's what troubles me. That's what troubles me, is that nobody knows about this.
Yeah.
I heard it on our own local 660 News here in Calgary, and then the COVID shutdown happened, and poof, it was like Kaiser Sose and the usual suspect. Poof, it was gone. But it's still there, and they're still doing research on it. So let's bring this back. Let's make this a news story and give this, and let's put something positive back into the world.
Well said. Thank you. Thank you for being optimistic and cheery today, Jenna. That's what we need. It's almost Christmas, for crying out loud. But we do need to stop here. Ruth, you hang on the line. Jody, Luke, Sue, Zach, get to all your calls here on Talkback. Last one of the year. My gosh. Where does the time go? This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Yes, it sure is. Last one of the year, Friday free-for-all. Ruth up next on Talkback. Hi, Ruth.
Oh, hello. How are you, Rob?
Yeah, very good,
Thank
Ruth. Good to hear from you.
Thank you so much for your great shows, and I love hearing everybody's opinion. Now, I want to mention a couple of things, and the first one is the new Prime Minister certainly hurt us and divided us deeply when he said that the U.S. and Canada are done. So what about all my lovely relatives in several states in the U.S. and how many of our Canadians are in the same boat? We're still going to say Merry Christmas to the ones in Alaska and Oregon and wherever my relatives are. And so that was one thing that really was a big hit for me. Just as much the Canadians felt that we were hit when Trump said that Canada should be the 51st state. But then Carter made it even worse and divided all of us. I feel that the fear that has been brought in seems like a disease called Trumpitis. So
Trumpitis.
I feel, Trumpitis.
Okay.
Fear thing.
So you're talking about when the Prime Minister said our relationship with the United States will never be the same.
Done.
It's fractured.
No,
it's
he said it's
over,
done. It's
over,
done.
over. I think, yeah, over. It's over. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and that's not true. It's not true.
Okay.
We're beside each other, and so we've always been there. My family down in the States are still my family. I'm not going to say over to, my family and my friends. So I think he has really created that kind of division within Canadians, and that has hurt me very deeply, and I can't forgive that. Can't forgive him for that. There are, of course, a lot more things. So the division, that was it, and the Trumpitis, that was the other thing. And I felt that he did not fairly become Prime Minister of Canada. And remembering the soldiers coming down my street in Holland, I became a Canadian, in that time. 1945, I became a Canadian. I didn't become a citizen until I was 18. Very proud citizen, and I must say Canada has been very, very wonderful to me and my family here. But it's been tough for the old immigrants like myself, and I resent a lot of Canadian seniors, what they have done to our government as of today, and voted for another liberal government. Not that I'm enthralled with conservative, although I am a conservative thinker. So life for older seniors like myself is becoming more difficult because of all the information coming through. One of the most difficult things for me to see is what has happened in England, and I feel that Canada is heading that direction. And growing up as a little child, my parents always said, as long as there's an England, there will be a world. And I feel England is losing it. And so I feel Canada is losing it. But I can't go anywhere.
Well, don't lose hope yet. Don't lose hope yet.
Home and a house. Not a house.
Thank you very much. Ruth, thank you for you and your call. And I wish you Merry Christmas. And I wish all the best of you to your family next year. And I appreciate your call today. I don't think you've ever called before, nor Jenna for that matter. Thank you for your call as well. And to more of your calls as we make our way through this talkback in the home stretch of the Friday free-for-all, right after the latest breaking news here on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Yeah, we're in the home stretch now of the Friday free-for-all, last talkback of 2025. For us, let's go to Jody. Waiting a while today. Jody, you there?
Hey, Merry Christmas, Rob.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Jody. Go ahead.
Just want to say a couple things here. I cannot believe that the Democratic Party are going to actually let AOC run for, apparently for the next election. Like, I mean, are they losing their minds? Like, AOC as president, like, do they think that she actually has a chance to win the president of the United States? Like, come on, like, get their heads straight.
Well, there is clearly an appetite for that political viewpoint, and I come back to this, and it's only, one city, but it's the biggest, most important city in the United States, if not the entire world. New York City just elected a raging left-winger in Mandani. So there's obviously, there's a political appetite for that viewpoint, that hard left viewpoint.
You are right, though, Rob. And on a sporting note here, I'm pulling for Buffalo for the Super Bowl, and of course I'm pulling for the Habs, and I hope Ottawa gets in there too. And I'm happy that Toronto's struggling. And
me too.
For the last thing here, you know what? Like the Blue Jays, like I think they should sign Bichette here and just leave this Tucker guy, go elsewhere. Like Bichette's been there the whole time. He loves playing in Toronto. He's a great player. Go ahead and spend all your money. Whatever he wants, give it to him. This Kyle Tucker, his stats the last couple of years are not all that for a guy that's wanting all this money. Come on, man! Like 23 home runs and whatever RBIs he had last year. Stick with Bichette.
Yeah, he didn't have the same output as Bichette. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I just looked it up here. 266 batting average, 22 home runs, 73 RBIs. I mean, it's a good season, but it's not a great, it's not a standout season.
I know.
Like Bichette lost the last month of the regular season and still had I think he had something like 96 RBIs or something like that. And he missed the final month of the season.
And he was leading in hits like most of the year until he got hurt in the major leagues. Like spend all your like go ahead, go for him 100%. Like come on, guys.
Yeah, that would be my preference as well. He's so close to Vladdy. They both came up through the system with Schneider, right? The GM. So there's so much history there.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Right on, Rob.
Okay. Thanks, Jody. Yeah, good points. Luke, up next. Hi, Luke.
Hey, how are you, man?
Very good. Merry Christmas, Luke.
Merry Christmas to you, too. That was the real reason I was going to call in today, but then I stopped by my supplier, and he goes, Luke, I got bad news. I go, what? He says, my distributor is telling me that the government of Canada is putting a 25% tariff on any and all steel coming into the country, regardless of what country it's coming from, which basically means the government of Canada is taxing us 25%.
Okay.
Right?
Don't know
it's
much
not a
about
Trump
it.
Tariff. I know. It's been very quiet. I haven't heard anything about it till he told me, because he goes, Luke, you got to get an order in by December 26th. Otherwise, it's going to take a 25% hit. And that's everything steel related. He showed me the email that came out from his supplier, because his supplier is, I think they're located in BC, and they deal with the ports, right? So, anyways,
if you say so.
That's what I'm being told. And
so you're saying there's a big counter tariff coming on imported steel,
but it's not a counter tariff. There's nothing to counter it to. It's the government of Canada. That's what his email read from his supplier or his distributor, that the government of Canada, starting December 26th, is putting a 25% tariff on anything steel coming in from any country. From any country.
First I've heard of it.
Doesn't matter where it's from. That's the first I heard of it too. So I'm going to keep looking. But that doesn't make sense. It's not even a protectionist thing. There's nobody in Canada making nails, right? We're not protecting this some big company from other countries. I don't get it. To me, honestly, like it's.
Well, there have long been accusations, though, that the China is dumping steel into this country, and it's like making its way into the United States or something like that.
Maybe
we've had a problem with cheap Chinese steel coming into this country. Maybe it has something to do with that.
Why are we paying 25%? How does that? You know what I mean? Again, how does it benefit? What is that?
Well, you would it's only if you're buying imported steel.
So where do we get the nails from? Okay, we don't go to China, that's fine, but it's on any country.
Okay.
Is what they're saying. But anyway,
there's no Canadian steel company that makes nails?
Not to my knowledge, no. I haven't. All the nails that I've bought over the last 20 whatever years come from either China. That's what your house is built out of. Anyway, have a good holidays, man, okay? Have a great
Well, you have a good
and
holiday,
Happy
too.
New Year, okay?
Well, I hope things improve. Thank you. Let's stop here, and then we'll get to Sue. We'll get to Zach as well. Find out what they want to talk about today on Talkback here on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Let's go to Sue up next. Sue's in Calgary. Hi, Sue. What's on your mind?
Hello, Rob.
Hi, Sue. Yeah, go ahead. What do you want to talk about?
I was just calling in to just maybe start the conversation about the terror attack in Australia.
What about it?
I don't know if many people have been talking about it.
We talked about it earlier in the week. Yep, quite a bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and then just how our futures are going to go if we just have, I mean, it seems like it's open borders and people with different thoughts. And if we just keep letting everybody in, what does the future hold when we have just such division with everybody?
Well, it's not just that. It's the, I mean, what really worries me is the, how should I say this? The delegitimization of Jewish lives, our Jewish neighbors here in Canada. You know, if people are angry at the government of Israel, you know, protest against the government of Israel. That's all well and good. Or if you don't like even, say, Canada's position on the Israel-Palestinian issue, well, go protest in front of the Parliament buildings, or go protest in front of the Israeli embassy in Ottawa, or the consulate in Toronto, the legislature in Ontario, or the legislature in Alberta, where you are. What really troubles me is, you know, specifically in Toronto, for example, because it's been so high profile, there is an area of Toronto, Bathurst, the Bathurst area of Toronto. And that's a Jewish area of Toronto. It's traditionally been a Jewish area, lots of Jewish businesses, and large residential neighborhoods, many synagogues, that kind of thing. Why are there Palestinian protests happening in that area, where people are walking through the streets of residential neighborhoods? Is that just not outright harassment and intimidation of Jews? Are we blaming Jews who live in Canada, maybe some of them for like several generations, for the actions of the government of Israel? Because if you are, that's wrong. And it's anti-Semitic. And the police, don't get me started about the Toronto police.
Yeah.
And how they've allowed to let this continue for 2+ years. And it's not just the Toronto police, it's the Ottawa police, probably the Calgary police too. As these people chant, globalize the Intifada. What do you think globalize the Intifada means? If not the murder of 15 Jews on Bondi Beach for the simple fact that they're Jews. It's terrible.
Instead of telling them they can't do those things and that's against our laws, and they just let them just have freedom in that, and then you do get Bondi Beach coming out of that. They're empowered. They think what they're saying and doing is correct, but it's not.
If you get a chance, read a couple of columns that were in the Globe and Mail. The great Robin Urbach, one of my favorite columnists in the Globe and Mail, and the Globe and Mail editorial this week on what's been happening in our streets for 2+ years. The Globe and Mail editorial in particular, I thought, made a good point. We tolerate in the year 2025 people dressing up like the Ku Klux Klan and walking through predominantly black neighborhoods. Will we tolerate that? So why do we tolerate these cosplay Hamasniks who decide that they're going to march through predominantly Jewish neighborhoods in our cities? Why do we tolerate that? Why are the police tolerating that? It's outrageous.
And how when you stand up and say we don't want to tolerate it, nothing happens.
Nothing happens. Very little has happened.
Politicians, some leaders need to take action to say we can't allow it.
Yeah. Well, there are laws on the books about this, about promoting terror and promoting hate. And I made this appeal earlier in the week. It's about time that the top law enforcement officials in this country got off their butts and started enforcing those laws. That's my opinion on it. Sounds like you share my opinion. Yeah, it's not okay.
And we can directly see what's happening in the UK and how we don't want that to come here. It's too far gone. So I agree with you.
Yeah, I can't speak what's going on in the UK. I haven't been to the UK, but this country has enough troubles as it is. Let's try and fix the problems that are happening in this country, particularly with that particular story that you mentioned. thank you for your call, Sue. Glad we could fit you in on the Friday Free for All Talkback. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Well, I think Zach is going to be the last caller of the year. Zach. How are you, Zach?
Merry Christmas, Rob.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you, Zach.
Well, just, I don't want to dwell on it too much, but what you just said at the end on why do we tolerate it? Well, our government, tolerated 100 churches being burned down or vandalized, including Trudeau saying it was understandable. So it doesn't surprise me that these violent agitators feel emboldened to target another group. Not saying they're the same agitators, but that was just the point I kind of thought of right away. But
it wasn't Trudeau who said that. It was Gerald Butts who said that, the former top advisor to Trudeau. Just
you're right.
Birds of a feather, though.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to wish you a Merry Christmas. God bless you and your family. It's been kind of a fun couple of months calling the show and hearing different opinions and stuff. There is a generational divide, clearly, between, people my age and the older folks, but I love hearing all the perspectives across the country. And thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Well, thank you, Zach, for all of your calls, and I think you're kind of an old soul anyway. So all the best to you and your family.
Yeah, you.
Okay.
You as well.
Yeah. Okay, we'll speak next year. Bye-bye. I think we have one more here. Al in Southern Alberta. Hi, Al.
Rob, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you and yours. And
Same to
I
you,
called in. I was going to make sure you paid the toll coming off of Prince Edward Island, but your man said you weren't going anywhere for Christmas. So have a good time. And
yes.
I wanted to bring up the fact that we've got a situation right now, which we've got a head of a government that's basically out of control. But we look back to the 1930s and 40s. We had a guy down across the 49th by the name of Franklin who ignored all the people that didn't want to go to war. If Franklin had paid attention to them, we would all be swastika and all the rest of it, because it was that close. And it was because of the U.S. entering. And I wondered, did Ruth apologize for or thank the Canadian soldiers for freeing her in Holland?
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. She mentioned the Canadian soldiers walking through the streets of Holland.
Then I'll allow her to complain.
Yes, she did. And if I could, it's well known that FDR, before the Americans entered the war, the Americans were sending all kinds of supplies and munitions, even without congressional authority. They were supporting the war cause in the UK. The reason the United States stayed out of the war is because the Americans did not want to become involved in the war. That it was a matter of popular opinion, right? You know that, Al.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But we've got a guy down there right now, like this Venezuela thing. He is going to start WW3 if he's not brought under control.
I hope not. Yeah. Look, Al, I'm going to wish you a Merry Christmas because we're just really tight on time here. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to all of our listeners. As I said, we couldn't do 2 hours of call-in radio every day. It's a rarity. It almost never happens in Canadian radio anymore. And I feel privileged to be able to listen to you and hear your opinions. I don't agree with everything everyone says, of course, and we can have the great debates of our time. It's always just a battle of ideas for me, and it's never personal. But I would like to thank everyone who listened this year. I would like to thank all the great news teams that I work with as well on a daily basis in Calgary and in Kitchener and in Halifax. And my producer, Curtis, who's a great young man, just 24 years old and has a very bright future in the news business. And Curtis, I can't do this show without all of your help and all of your input each and every day. And I thank you so much for everything. We will be back on the 4th of January